Is leaving your wife and kids for a Corvette and a chick at the bar in your actual rational self-interest? Shapiro seems to say yes. This is episode 2 in our discussion about Yaron Brook versus Ben Shapiro. We're doing good Shapiro, good Brook, bad Brook, and this is the bad Shapiro episode. We want to take issue with Shapiro's response to the concept of rational self-interest or rational egoism in his interview with Dave Rubin recently. When Dave asked him what does he think about this concept of rational self-interest that a lot of objectivists talk about, a lot of followers of Ayn Rand, Shapiro created somewhat of a caricature of the idea of rational self-interest and said that some people think that it is in your best self-interest to leave your wife and your kids to go buy a Corvette and have a good night with a chick at the bar, and that's why we shouldn't follow rational self-interest, because if we all did that, then all of our marriages would fall apart and society would be in ruins. So that was Shapiro's idea of what rational self-interest is, and we want to push back and say that's not quite what rational self-interest is, and that's not a very good way to think about it.
You can find the quotes here in the article, Contra Ben Shapiro, Rational Self-Interest is Not Hedonism. And that's at the Objective Standard. We'll give you the link to that. But what the discussion is between objectivists who think that rational self-interest is the right principle for a moral life. And Shapiro is saying, no, that's a silly, useless principle for a moral life. And then he gives these counter examples, but the counter examples fall apart. So think about it for yourself. And in the comments, tell us, do you think that Shapiro is right? Do you think Shapiro is wrong? Check out the article by Craig Biddle at the Objective Standard. We agree with his article very solidly. And, that's something that's noteworthy because I'm a religionist. I'm a Christian. Jacob is a Christian. And so, but we think that they're absolutely right in the way that they are critiquing this straw man from Shapiro.
Yeah. And here's a good way to think about it. What would follow if you said that it really was in your rational self-interest to leave your wife? Why are you sticking with your wife then? Is it out of duty? Like would I say to my wife, I've got no long-term value in sticking with you. The only reason I'm staying in this marriage is because it's my duty. I would much rather be out in a Corvette and with a chick at the bar than spend the rest of my life with you. But it's my duty, so I have to. That's a really ugly picture of why you stay married. And I don't think, if you think about it for a few seconds, I don't think most of us would agree with that. And in fact, hopefully our wives would be very, very offended by that idea. And then when you apply it to religion, because this is where a lot of religionists, especially Christians, get really uncomfortable with the idea of self-interest. Would God, so we have this idea of morality coming from God, God's commands. So even if you think about morality primarily in terms of duties to God or God's commands, would God's commands ever truly be against your self-interest? Like big picture, long-term, objectively speaking, not what you feel like doing in the moment, but big picture, would God command something that is actually contrary to your objective self-interest? I don't think so. And if you think that rational self-interest is contrary to Christianity, then you're saying that, yeah, God might command something that's contrary to my actual self-interest. And that's something you gotta wrestle with.
Somehow Shapiro in this interview came across as if he believes that to do all those things, to leave your wife, to leave your kids, that would be rational. How can that be? And what's even worse is that the way he phrased the argument, he says, well, there's a lot of people who seem to think this. The fact that some people seem to think it doesn't affect whether it's rational or not, Shapiro.
Yeah, I thought facts don't care about your feelings. So if a bunch of 40-year-old men feel like it's better to go out and leave their wives for a chick at the bar, does that make it rational? Obviously not. So I think one of the things here is maybe Shapiro doesn't have a concept for objective self-interest. Maybe he's just thinking about self-interest in terms of subjective, what seems right to me, what feels right. Maybe he doesn't really have a category for something objectively being in your self-interest. And that's what Yaron Brook and the objectivists are talking about. So that's what you have to respond to if you're going to actually respond to this concept of rational self-interest.
If this whole discussion has piqued your interest, then the next 2 episodes are going to be on Yaron Brook, and you're going to be able to see what he says about this perspective. I think you're going to enjoy it.